welcome to Going Mad. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Vanessa.
And this week, you might have known that we took a little break because we had some technical difficulties.
We did take a break.
Mic.
Yeah, I mean, we did record.
We recorded, but we had some technical difficulties with it. Therefore, this is take 2.
Yes.
Of episode 13.
Ooh, lucky 13. Wait,
yeah,
it's bad luck 13. That's why.
13.
Yeah, that's why we had to ditch our old recording and re-record.
It's because the universe knew Kaylee's getting a new mic. Let's wait until she gets the new mic. So I'm going to apologize right now if you can hear every little thing. It's because my mic is picking everything up. Like, I'm sitting far away. I'm sitting far away. Farther away than I normally do anyways. Anyways, so this week we're going to do true crime, since last time we did some paranormal stuff. Vanessa will be talking about the unsolved Dardeen family murders. Yep. And I will be discussing the Villisca axe murders.
Nice.
It's fun stuff.
Well, it's not
as
nice,
always,
but...
well, no, not nice.
Sorry. As
always, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You can send us your stories that you would like us to tell to our email at goingmadpod@gmail.com. And you can listen to us basically everywhere. I'm not going to list them off. They all know.
They all know.
We're everywhere. All right, Vanessa, take it away.
So, I ditched my research after we recorded the first time because I thought, hey, it's good. And I cleaned off my desk. And so I had to redo it and rewrite it. So I did it really fast. I did some of it from memory because I just didn't feel like looking up everything and I didn't have a lot of time. But I think it turned out good, so I'm going to jump right into it. Today, the Dardeen family. I don't know why I made that sound noise. And then I'm waving my pencil around like a wand.
Yep.
I don't know.
It's a real sight.
Okay.
It's a real sight.
Hey, let's get into the story, okay? Stop messing around. Okay. Dardeen family. They lived in Ina, Illinois, which is 50 minutes south of me. So this is taking place in southern Illinois. And this is taking place in 1987. Ina is a small town consisting of only 2,338 according to the 2010 census, because I couldn't find the census for 1987. So it's probably roughly the same amount, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but usually towns around here stay the same population. So this is a tiny town.
If not, they go down in population.
Right, exactly.
They rarely go up in population.
Small towns rarely go up in population, yeah. So the Dardeen family has Keith, who's the father and husband. He is 29 at this time. We have Elaine, the mother and wife, who is 30 and pregnant. We also have a 2-year-old boy in this story named Peter. Keith worked at a Wren Lake water plant. Elaine also had a job at an office supply store. They just recently moved in a trailer that they bought. Keith only had this new job for a year or so, and this is the reason why they moved to Ina. The family was also involved in their church. The land their trailer was on was a rented farmland. So they haven't been to Ina very long at this time, but they were already considered moving back to where Keith was originally from, was Mount Carmel, Illinois. They were considering this because the crime in the area was on the rise, and the family didn't think it was safe for them to live there anymore. Murder was on the rise in the county, also reports of rape. So it just wasn't a good area. So when November 18th rolls around, Keith didn't show up for work. He was a no-call, no-show, which was completely out of character for Keith. His boss tried to call him throughout the day, but no answer. Becoming concerned, his boss ends up calling Keith's parents. Not knowing what's going on, Keith's father called the police and met them at Keith's house, on account he had a spare key. So when they got inside, it was just like a house of horrors. Trigger warning, this involves children, and not some good stuff. Elaine, Peter, and a newborn baby girl were all found dead. They were actually all in the same bed, tucked in. Yeah. Elaine was also bound and gagged. The cause of death was from a baseball bat, which actually belonged to Peter. So they were beaten to death. Elaine was actually beaten so badly she went into labor, leading for the baby to be born, and also
that is so sad. Like that is awful.
Like how can you be a newborn baby? I don't have any idea how anyone could ever do that, but yeah. So where is Keith? His body was not found in the trailer. So then he became the prime suspect. His car was also not there, having the police thinking he was on the run. The search ended quickly, though, when Keith's body was found the next day in a field. However, Keith was not killed by a bat, but he was actually shot 3 times. He also had his penis cut off. So... yeah. So
all sorts of chills.
Yeah. One weird twist in this story, Keith's car was actually not near him, not near the body, but 11 miles away, parked at a police station. And the inside was covered in blood. So we have a murder, or we have how many murders? 4 murders and no suspects. They did have a bunch of investigators trying to crack this case, though, around 30 full time. They interviewed a ton of people, but was not getting anywhere because everyone said that the Dardines had no enemies. The autopsies came out clean for alcohol or drugs, but in the home there was a small amount of marijuana that was left behind. Thinking that the murderers left it there on purpose. Like, I don't understand that. Also, the trailer seemed to have been attempted to be cleaned up some. So why would they leave the weed, like, by accident or whatever, but they cleaned up the house some?
Well, not just that, though. Why would they clean the house but not the car?
Not the car. Yeah, that was my next line. Why? Well, maybe, because I was thinking maybe they were not in a hurry to leave the house, but they were trying to ditch the car fast.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
But also, why would they ditch the car at a police station? Why not leave it near the body? So, it had been at least 2 people. I would think it would have been at least 2 people. Because driving to the house and then taking Keith's car, or this person would have had then walked to their house, killed the family, and then drove the car to Keith's death place, then drive to the police station, and then what would they do? Just walk away?
Yeah, that's weird.
So I feel like there had to have been more than one person involved.
Yeah.
So back to the trailer. Nothing of value was taken, and Elaine was not sexually assaulted. So this is ruling out a robbery gone wrong and a sexually motivated killing. So what could it be? Maybe an affair gone wrong? There was no evidence of an affair, but this was back in the 80s. So there was no cell phones, no computers were used. So, when you have an affair nowadays, they can just look through your cell phone or look through your emails. Track that shit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of evidence you can find in the 80s if you're having an affair, other than like maybe love letters, handwritten letters, but those can be destroyed. Or the only other thing you can do is get caught having an affair, really, back in the 80s. I mean, if you get caught, or he's like, the person's acting weird, staying out late. Yeah. But I guess none of this they found out. But, I mean, but why? So why would this happen? Another kind of theory that they had was a cult? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. To me, it seems like a remorse thing, tucking in the family, and then taking Keith away and cutting off his penis sounds like a real hate towards him. You know what I mean? Like, the person maybe wanted to cause the most pain to Keith, so maybe they made him watch his family getting murdered. And
well, and so here's what I think about the whole schlong getting chopped off.
Right, okay.
That's like a way to take away a man's masculinity. Mm-hmm. Like, that to me kind of would go along with the whole affair situation.
Right.
Or it to me it's like clearly this person had to have been trying to humiliate Keith, you know?
Right. And maybe they felt bad about the family having to die because of him, so that's why they tucked them all in the same bed.
Yeah, maybe.
Again, I don't think it could have been one person causing all this. Again, because of the car situation also, because then they would have had to walk to the house if they were by themselves, because no other random car was found, at their house or around their house. Right. So they would have had to walk to the house, kill the family, take Keith, drive him out, kill him in the field, and then drive his car to the police station and then walk away.
Yeah, that's
I just don't
weird.
feel like that is plausible. I just feel like there has to be more than one person. And I don't know, it's terrible. It's a horrible thing that happened to this poor family. It was 1987, so I'm hoping today's technology, if they have some evidence that they can run some DNA, maybe if some DNA was left somewhere, I just hope they can get this case solved.
Yeah. Well, and you gotta think too, like, it sucks because it is in such a small area, like small town area, that they don't have the resources necessarily available to them. Mm-hmm. So it's like they do have to reach out to other surrounding areas that could possibly have that technology. So that's also probably prolonging any sort of findings and stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Keith's family is still alive, so I do hope that they have some answers, because this is so terrible. It's so sad. So
yeah,
that's sad. It. Yeah, and so weird.
Yeah, it's a, like I said, I mean, to me it seems like it definitely has, like, that person was trying to humiliate Keith. Mm-hmm. And like you said, clearly there was some sort of remorseful aspect to the family getting killed. Like, why would you tuck them in?
Exactly.
If you were just going to brutally murder someone, you wouldn't go then tuck them in unless you kind of felt bad about it.
Like you wanted them to be together, I guess, and tucked in the same bed, like...
Right, yeah.
So many strange things about that case.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. All right. Let's take it back to 1912, shall we?
So long ago.
So this is also another unsolved case, and I'll get into some of the theories later, but the Villisca Axe murders. So Villisca is a town in Iowa, which, if you don't know where Iowa is, it's in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. It's a lovely state. Sometimes
potatoes.
That's Idaho.
That's Idaho. Hey,
that would
Iowa.
Be Idaho.
Hey, Iowa might have potatoes.
They might, but Idaho is notorious for the potatoes. I mean, good try, though. It was a good try. I appreciate the effort.
Okay, scratch that.
Oh, Lord. Okay, back to the story. In not Idaho, there were... So, the Moore family lived in Villisca, Iowa, and there were 6 members of the family. There was Josiah, Sarah, and then their 4 children, Herman, Mary, Boyd, and Paul. The family was well known throughout the community just because they were, very active in the community. On June 9th, 1912, Mary had invited 2 of the neighbor girls, 2 of the friends, Ina and Lena Stillinger, to spend the night at their house. That night, the girls were going to church where they were participating in a children's service program, which Sarah, the mother, had put together. The program ended around 9:30 p.m., which is then, the family got home roughly 15 minutes to half an hour later. Around 7 a.m. the next morning, so this is now June 10th, their neighbor grew a little concerned when she didn't see the family out and about doing their chores. None of the animals had been let out. There was no movement in the house whatsoever. She went over and knocked on the door, and no one answered. She tried opening the door, but then realized that it had been locked. She went and kind of did some of the chores for them, like, taking care of some of the animals. And when she was done with that, she ended up calling Josiah's brother, Ross. Ross ended up coming over and tried knocking on the door and shouting without reply. He ended up actually being able to get the door unlocked because he did have a copy of the key. So, that's good. He walked into the parlor. So, I don't know if you know what a parlor is, but it's kind of like a living room.
Mm-hmm.
So, their house was kind of laid out weirdly. So, like, when you walked in the front door, you walked into the kitchen. So, in the kitchen, there was a stairwell that went up to there were 2 bedrooms upstairs. And so that's where all of the family stayed. So there's the master bedroom. I believe you'd walk into the master bedroom, and then there was another door to another room, which is where all the kids stayed. And then if you were in the kitchen, you could walk through the hall into like the front room, and then there was another room kind of attached to that front room. And that was just kind of their guest room. And it was believed at the time that they might have had someone staying in that room because the bed was made, which normally, from what I heard, the bed wasn't made. Like, it was just kind of used as it wasn't really used as a guest room.
Okay.
So it was thought that maybe there was someone that was staying with them other than the 2 girls. Like, they were expecting someone else to be staying in that room. But I don't think that was ever confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
So, anywho, Ross walks into the parlor and opens the door to the guest room, which is where he saw Ina and Lena's bodies on the bed. He yelled to the neighbor to call Hank Horton, which was Villisca's police in quotes. They called them peace officers, so I'm guessing that's just kind of the equivalent to the police.
Yeah, I think so.
Back in, the 1910s. So when Horton arrived, he searched the house and revealed that the entire family, plus the 2 girls, had been brutally bludgeoned to death. The murder weapon was an axe that actually belonged to Josiah, and it was found in the room with the 2 Stillinger girls. Doctors had come to the conclusion that the murders took place between midnight and 5 a.m. on June 10th. There were 2 cigarettes that were found in the attic, which is suggested that the killer/killers were waiting for the family to go to sleep, but that was also never really proven.
Mm-hmm.
The killers/killers began in the master bedroom, which is where Josiah and Sarah were. Josiah, kind of similar to your story, Josiah really got he got it.
Yeah.
He got a lot of it. So he was the one that actually received more blows than anyone else did. And he was also the only one that the blade was used on him. He was... His face... I don't mean to laugh. It's because I'm like...
Yeah.
His face was so badly beaten that his eyes were actually missing. So that's fun. The rest of the family all were bludgeoned with the blunt end of the axe. Herman...
So, did you hear me do that? I go...
I did.
Because I was about to talk. So I was thinking, yeah, it had to been him that was the target because they wanted to make sure he got it the worst, and they didn't want to use the sharp end. They had to die out of because they were there, basically. The other people had to die.
Yeah, it was it was very clearly focused on Josiah. Like, it was very clear that he was the main target of this brutal beating.
Yeah.
So Herman, Mary, Boyd, and Paul were all the next to be bludgeoned, which, like I said, they were in the next room. It seemed as though the killers then went back into the parents' room to inflict more damage before they went downstairs to the two girls. It was believed that all but Lena were asleep when they were murdered. And they believed that because Lena had a defensive wound on her arm, so they believed that she had woken up possibly when the person, I don't want to say he because you don't know. But it was thought that she had woken up while her sister was getting murdered, and then tried to somewhat, fight the guy off. They also at the time had thought that she had been sexually assaulted, or there was at least some sort of attempt, because her underwear had been removed and her nightgown had been pushed up to her waist. But this was found to not be true. They did find out that she was not sexually assaulted. All of the mirrors and windows had been covered with sheets and blankets and stuff. And the heads of the victims were covered as well. So, that's an interesting...
Yeah,
sitch.
Didn't we talk about... Did someone else used to do that?
I'll get there.
Oh, okay. My bad.
I will get to that, my friend. I will get there.
Oh, yeah. I remember now. Okay.
Yeah. So there were many suspects that they had kind of looked into, but there were a few key ones that I'll be talking about. So the first suspect was Reverend Lynn Kelly. He was an English immigrant and was known to be a sexual deviant, and he also was known to have some mental problems. He had been in town the night of the murders and admitted to leaving on a train just before the bodies were found. After some investigating, it was found out that he had indeed attended the children's service that Sarah, the mother, had put on. It was believed that Kelly had become somewhat obsessed with the family in that one night, and he had ended up following the family home and spying on them that evening.
Gross.
Yeah. Yep. So, in 1917, a grand jury assembled to hear evidence against Kelly. Some of the evidence included him sending off bloody clothes to be cleaned, and an elderly couple stated that when they had met him on the train, and that Kelly had told them that some gruesome murders had taken place in the town. So, that's a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Like, how would you know if you weren't the one that did it?
Right. For sure.
Because this was before they found the bodies. So, suspicious. It was also said that he came back into town a week later and showed great interest in the case, even going as far as to pose as a Scotland Yard detective to gain entrance into the house and search around. He ended up getting arrested in 1917 and ended up signing a confession stating, quote, "I killed the children upstairs first and the children downstairs last. I knew God wanted me to do it this way. Slay utterly came to mind, and I picked up the axe, went into the house, and killed them. End quote. So, he did end up recanting that confession later on. So, did it happen? Who knows? I don't know.
But that is how they figured what happened, though. The way he said it, that the killer went upstairs first and killed them, and then... Right?
I don't know if it's because of that they thought that or not.
Okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay.
That's how they figured that out.
Okay.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, this dude was actually tried twice for this case. The first time was a hung jury, and the second time they voted to acquit. So, it seemed the way that it worked was like the longer it went on, the more the evidence just kind of fell apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, a lot of it is circumstantial. Like,
Right.
they don't really have hard evidence to prove that this guy did it. So, they couldn't convict him. There just wasn't enough evidence.
I mean, they probably didn't have fingerprint technology back then.
No, for sure. Well,
So-
and not just that, but it's like a lot of it was hearsay. Like, oh, this couple said that this is what they said. Well,
Right.
they could have lied. I'm not saying they did, but they could have.
Yeah.
Or, like, it's a lot, like I said, it's a lot of circumstantial evidence. None of it is really hard evidence to really prove that this guy did it.
Right.
So, let's get into the second suspect.
Okay.
This one, to me, makes the most sense. So, Frank Jones, suspect number 2. He was a local businessman and a state senator. Josiah had worked for Frank at his store for quite a while, and then Josiah decided, hey, I'm going to open my own store.
Mm-hmm.
Sucka. So, Josiah did that, and it pissed off Frank pretty bad.
Yeah.
Tensions had grown so high that the men would literally avoid each other at all costs, including, like, crossing the street to avoid the other person.
That's crazy.
Like, that's going way out of your way to avoid someone.
Right.
When you literally have to cross the street to avoid running into that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do that at work, but I work in a hospital. I don't have to cross streets. I just choose a different hallway to go down. Anywho. So, anyways, tensions were high. Jones was very adamant that he did not do it, but rumors spread quickly that maybe he had hired someone to do it. And guess who he was believed to have hired?
Who?
A serial killer.
Whoa!
That's who.
Dun dun dun!
Yep. William Mansfield, Mr. Serial Killer. So, William Mansfield, like I said, was a known serial killer. He was known to kill with an axe. He would cover the mirrors in the house. And
That's a big one.
he was also known, he was also known to wear gloves so that they couldn't get his fingerprints, because his fingerprints were already on file from when he had been previously apprehended.
Interesting.
So, they do have fingerprint technology back in
How?
1912.
That's so mind-blowing.
I don't think it's the technology to what you're thinking of.
I mean, how can they... Honestly, I don't even know how they pick up fingerprints now. Like, with a piece of
They dust.
dust.
They dust for them, and then they.
How do they pick that fingerprint off of an object?
They have some sort of sticky thing that they put down.
So
and it
back
picks it
in
up.
1912, you telling me
They had tape.
they just had some tape and
They might have had some tape laying around.
some baby powder
Yes.
tape.
They used what they could.
They obviously they would have had to like manually look at each fingerprint comparing it to what they had on file.
Yeah, see, and that's the big thing. They don't have what we have now.
Like a computer system.
They don't have it as though they're like currently still existing. They didn't have
there you go.
what we have now. So it's not like they could input it into some system, roll it through a shit ton of people, and then boom, come up with a match. You know, like,
yeah, but
how
still,
are you really gonna effectively try to find a fingerprint?
But I mean, that guy was smart enough to even know their technology sucked, but he still needed to wear gloves. So that's
very true.
Smart
very true.
In a way.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know.
So this dude, basically, this theory fell apart. There, once again, not enough evidence, not enough hard proof. Just not enough. So here we go. Suspect number, Trace. Another serial killer.
Whoa.
There were just a lot of serial killers in the Midwest at this time, apparently.
It's probably easier to get away with murder. But anyways.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. So there was another serial killer that was suspected of these murders. His name was Henry Moore. He was also known to use an axe.
I mean, I feel like that's popular back then because everyone had an axe back then. They were all chopping down their own
guns. Wood. They had guns too, though.
Oh. Okay. Okay, gun and axe, though. Those were like the main things back then.
Yeah, I mean, there's other... I'm trying to... Yeah.
No, I mean that's it. That's all they had.
They had poison. They had stuff.
Okay, I'm just saying.
One of our last episodes when I talked about Belle Gunness, she poisoned those people, and that was, I think, before this.
Listen, if someone killed someone with an axe in today's world, it would have been even more...
It'd be a little bit more interesting. Because people don't really use axes
anymore. Yeah, okay. I am so sorry. Go on.
You get. So, this Henry Moore dude, he was caught killing his mother and his grandmother in Missouri. Henry was also known to cover the mirrors in the windows.
Okay,
and
that's weird.
The heads. Yeah, so, but once again, there just was not enough hard evidence to prove that this guy did it. Once again, all circumstantial. Like, just because it's a coincidence that he does this, doesn't mean that he actually did it. So, he was also known to wipe his axe off. Like, wiped the blood off of the axe. Which is what had happened with this specific axe. So, this guy was a very good fit. But, once again, like I said, they just didn't have the evidence to prove that it was him. So, unfortunately, like I said, there have been no arrests made since the original, or since Reverend Kelly, and no one has been convicted. The house is still standing, and you can actually tour it. You can tour the house, guys.
I didn't think you could.
And yes, you can tour the house. It's called the Villisca Axe Murder House.
Okay.
I'm doing like pointy fingers because that's how exciting it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so you can tour the house. It's still standing. It's one of the I think it's, from what I read, don't quote me. I don't have the
I'm quoting
quote,
you.
But I think it's one of the oldest buildings in the current town of Villisca.
I'm going to quote you on that and say...
Yeah, like the Historical Society preserved this house.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they have all of the same furniture. They have, like, I've seen pictures of it. All of the furniture is still in there, and I believe they kept all of the mirrors covered as well. If they didn't keep it, then it's... Well, I don't know if they, took all of that down and then just put it up for show, Who knows what actually happened. But when I saw pictures, there were sheets over the mirrors and stuff.
Yeah, that's the strangest part to me in that story.
Yeah. And it's the fact that there were two suspects that actually fit that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons. Yeah. It really is.
It's just crazy. I think that we had kind of talked about this. Window or mirrors specifically are like portals. They're said to be portals to, the spirit world. And so my theory is that people do that in order to keep the spirits from reaching the other side.
And I feel like that's a total 1912 kind of theory too.
Yeah, that would be my theory.
Yeah, I mean, weird.
But I don't know. I mean, some people are just weird. Maybe they were just like, I just don't want to look at myself doing this.
Right.
It could be less involved. I think maybe I'm thinking into it a little bit too much.
I don't know, dude. I mean, it's all crazy.
Yeah.
It's all crazy.
So, that's the story of the Villisca Axe murders.
It's a good one.
Still unsolved. It's a good one. It's an oldie but a goodie.
Yep, that's what they say. That's the saying. You know what we always say? What do we always say?
What do we always say, Vanessa?
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You can hit us up in our email at goingmadpod@gmail.com. Guys, tell us what you want to hear. Tell us if you have any stories. We'll hear it. We'll listen. We'll research. We'll read it out on the podcast for you because we're here to please. And you guys, we're going to see you next time on Going Mad.
Can I give a quick shout out?
Yeah, shout it out.
Okay. Shout out, my husband's birthday was on Sunday,
yes!
and he turned 30.
Big 30.
He's old now.
Old man, happy birthday.
He's an old man now. Happy birthday, Nathan.
Whoop, whoop.
Little Nathan. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine. No, you actually messed up my whole outro, actually.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Anywho, as you always say, we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.